This is the OTB Television Network, a service of Capital District Off-Track Betting.
Good morning and welcome to Racing Across America as we kick off another week. Monday morning, I'm Seth Merrill. Thanks for joining me. Coming up a little bit later on the show, Catskill Steve Turjanian from Monticello Raceway. We had him join us last week. A little tip of the cap to the harness side of the game. He handicapped some races at Monticello last Monday. What a nice 2 for 3. So we got Steve back in for this Monday morning. Talk a little bit about racing at Monticello this afternoon because, of course, they're on the network on Mondays. 10:30 or so, we'll be joined by Joe Clancy from thisishorseracing.com. We're going to take a look at Saturday's Colonial Cup, which was the last Grade 1 event for the steeplechase set, and which hopefully was going to settle the Eclipse Award, but instead did not. There was 5 or 6 Grade 1s run on the steeplechase side this season, all won by different horses. So it's going to be a very difficult decision for Eclipse voters. But we'll also just kind of put a bow on the steeplechase season as well, which pretty much wrapped up in South Carolina over the weekend with the Colonial Cup card. We'll talk a little bit about highlights from the steeplechase season. And then towards 10:45 or so, we'll be joined by Don Stevens from Delta Downs. We had him on Friday previewing the Delta Downs jackpot card. We will now review some of those stakes races, Delta Jackpot, the Delta Princess, the Delta Mile. Nice card of racing down there on Saturday, and we'll talk a little bit about that. Friday, when we came in, things were just shaking out. We kind of were on the breaking news side of things down at Penn National, and as it shook out, 3 trainers and a clocker grabbed the ire of the FBI. The trainers, Patricia Rogers, Sam Webb, and David Wells. David Wells' name may ring a bell. He was the trainer of Rapid Redux, the record-setting 22 straight win claiming level horse. Actually won a lot of those in starter allowances, but at low levels. But certainly Rapid Redux, given a special Eclipse Award in 2011 for his winning streak. And again, David Wells' name may ring a bell. These trainers, with the charges being filed against them, face maximum 25 years in prison and $250,000 fines. They also brought a clocker into the mix here. And I will tell you that you can go to the Capital OTB YouTube channel, pull up Loose on the Lead from our archive yesterday. If you go to capitalotb.com, got to keep remembering to remind people of this. It's just been up the last couple of weeks or so. The morning programming is now archived on the Capital OTB YouTube channel. If you go to capitalotb.com, go down to the bottom of the page, there's a link to our YouTube channel. And if you pull up Loose on the Lead yesterday with Steve Bick and I, we had Alan Foreman on, who is influential in the industry, chairman of the Thoroughbred Horsemen's Association, also active in Maryland racing. So he's a guy who's clued into a lot of this. By trade, he's a lawyer, so he was commenting legally on not only the Penn National situation, but he also had some great comments on the Senate hearing, the congressional hearing from last Thursday. And we had an extended interview with him because Aqueduct canceled yesterday. We actually went over a little bit. So it was a really nice interview with Alan Foreman. Again, talking about the congressional hearing, talking about that situation last Friday down at Penn National with the arrests. And we also talked a little bit about the RMTC and the model drug rules, which now seem to be that uniform drug policy that was adopted by the Mid-Atlantic region states earlier this year, subsequently has been picked up by California within the last week. It looks like Kentucky's right around the corner. And it looks like this is turning out to be just what we hoped and envisioned, that will be a uniform medication policy for the entire country. But he talked a little bit about that as well. So again, I would recommend, if you didn't get a chance to see Loose on the Lead yesterday, pull up the archive and check it out, because it was a great conversation with Alan Foreman about some topics that are certainly front and center in the racing industry. Talked a little bit about this on the Handicappers Report just a few minutes ago with Anthony Mormino, but Saturday internationally, it was the Grade 1 Japan Cup. Gentle Donna gets it done. If you don't follow international racing, Gentle Donna, she's a very nice filly over there in Japan, and the defending champion of the Japan Cup. She becomes the first horse in 33 years to capture 2 Japan Cups, let alone do it in consecutive years. This was her fifth Grade 1 victory. Last year, she claimed the Filly Triple Crown as a 3-year-old, plus the Japan Cup. So she is very, very talented. Gentle Donna gets it done in a thriller to boot. I don't have the video linked on Equidaily now. By later today, I will, so you can check that out. Maybe we'll get that on the show this week also, the Japan Cup, because it was a great race, very thrilling. Again, Ryan Moore rode, winner of a couple of Breeders' Cup races, the European jockey. As I said on the other show, a little reticent as far as interviews. He certainly wasn't giving Donna Barton Brothers any help the post-Breeders' Cup race interviews, but a very talented jockey, and so Gentle Donna gets it done. Dunedin runs 5th in the race, and some international names you may be familiar with. Dunedin runs 5th. The disappointment had to be Joshua Tree, running 17th in a field of 17. Joshua Tree, the 3-time winner of the Canadian International, and he had just won that race for the 3rd time a few weeks back up at Woodbine. And as I said, Anthony Mormino and I were talking, and Anthony did talk about that track up at Woodbine at the time of year the Canadian International is run. Can be a little quirky, can get a little soggy, maybe plays to the strengths of Joshua Tree. And I commented, other than that unique triple he has in the Canadian International, Joshua Tree is certainly a nice horse, but the record doesn't necessarily jump off the page at you, other than, as I say, the quirky triple in the Canadian International. So that he didn't run well in the Japan Cup maybe isn't a super surprise, but still to run 17th of 17 is certainly no bonus in there. But Gentle Donna, again, hats off to her. Very, very nice filly over there in Japan. And as I say, I have a video link up on Equidaily by the end of today. You can go to the Japan Racing website and find the video yourself if you'd like to look in the meantime. We'll try to get that on the show here later in the week, because it was a really exciting edition of the Japan Cup. Speaking of exciting, things are shaping up for a great holiday weekend of racing, and it looks like things, obviously, the Cigar Mile is going to be very big. Groupie Doll, Golden Sense, just a banner field top to bottom in the Cigar Mile. Things are also shaping up very nicely for the Clark at Churchill Downs. Game On Dude worked for the Clark out at Hollywood, and this was on Sunday, yesterday. Game On Dude works in 48. The 6th fastest of 53 works at the distance. Will be shipped to Churchill Downs on Wednesday. So Game On Dude, a go for the Clark. Game On Dude assigned the high weight of 126 pounds. Mike Smith will ride. Will Take Charge, the nice 3-year-old that we saw win the Travers up here at Saratoga, gets 123 pounds. And others entered for the Clark and expected will be Bourbon Courage, Easter Gift, Finnegan's Wake, of course, Game On Dude, and Will Take Charge, but also Golden Ticket, Prayer for Relief, and another possible is Jagger Paw. So we will see what happens there in the Clark, but it's shaping up to be, again, also a very nice field. 2 really nice races for this holiday weekend, the Cigar Mile and the Clark, that potentially even have some eclipse implications. So we'll keep our eyes on those over the weekend. Plenty of other great races as well, though. And I pulled up some past performances. In fact, for Thanksgiving Day, which looks like a nice day of racing as well. Thanksgiving Day at Churchill Downs will feature the Falls City Handicap Grade 2 event, $150,000 purse. The Falls City is for fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and up, going 1 1/8 miles. And Don't Tell Sophia, probably going to attract a lot of attention off of the win In the Chaluki, most recently, that was on November 2nd, just a few weeks ago, right here at Churchill Downs. Wins the Chaluki pretty easily with a 100 buyer figure. So Don't Tell Sophia, as I say, going to attract a lot of attention. But also, how about 50 Shades of Hay for Bob Baffert? 50 Shades of Hay ran second in the Alabama, so we certainly remember her. But prior to that, had won the Black-Eyed Susan, had won the Iowa Oaks. A little bit disappointing most recently in the Indiana Oaks, but that was over a sloppy sealed track. So potentially there was a little bit of an excuse there for 50 Shades of Hay. What's interesting, though, now is, again, those races I listed that she's coming into this race with, those, of course, all restricted to 3-year-olds. So finally, 50 Shades of Hay here at the end of November is stepping out of her own age division. She will be interesting, though. Talented 3-year-old filly for Bob Baffert. And, again, meeting her elders for the first time in the Falls City on Thanksgiving Day. Looks like a nice field there. Also, on Thanksgiving Day in New York, it is the Fall High Weight. And the Fall High Weight is unique because of the weights given to the horses. And the scheduled high weight is, I'm just checking to make sure, and it is Strapping Groom at 135. Again, another horse that we saw up here at Saratoga, and another horse that we saw run very well at Saratoga, won a couple of stakes races this season. The Kid Russell, a little restricted stake, followed that up, winning the Grade 1 Forgo. Strapping Groom then went into the Vosburg and ran third, and was a disappointment in the Bold Ruler. Went off as the 6-5 favorite last time, October 26th. Out there winging on the front end, but wound up fading to fourth. Strapping Groom now on Thursday in the fall weight, high weight handicap. Again, saddled with 135 as the top weight. Cash Electronica, 132 pounds. Cash Electronica, of course, the very nice horse, probably one of the all-time great claims. Todd Fletcher and Mike Rapoli, just under $2 million now, $1.8 million. So just a couple of wins away, a couple of stakes wins away from being a multi-millionaire. But Cash Electronica, last time out, won the Duck Dance, little $100,000 stake at Belmont. That was back on October 6th, so comes off a little bit of a layoff. But yet another horse we saw win up at Saratoga this year. Cash Electronica in the mix. Sage Valley will also be in the mix. That one won the James Marvin up at Saratoga this year. B. Shanny is in the group. The Lumber Guy, of course, a very talented horse who this year hasn't quite shown that much talent in limited starts, but the Lumber Guy is one that we certainly will be interested in seeing perform on Thursday. The Lumber Guy gets in with 133. So again, interesting race just in the conditions and the weights and whatnot, but it sounds like a good field as well. And out at Hollywood on Thursday, it will be the Vernon Underwood. Grade 3 event, $100,000 purse, 3/4 of a mile the distance. It is a field of only 6, but it's an interesting field. Handsome Mike for Doug O'Neill, who on occasion can pop an interesting win. Last time in the winner's circle was April of this year, the Commonwealth on the synthetic back at Keeneland, but has gotten up to win 3 times in the 21 started career for $900,000 for Renham and O'Neill. Again, it's a compact field of only 6, and just looking around, it looks like Roman Threat from Bob Baffert, Handsome Mike from O'Neill, probably Color of Courage. I want to see what the betting public does with this horse, because on the face of it and on the numbers, Color of Courage is probably the horse that you would lean to, except has been off since July of 2011. So the betting public just has to take into account a layoff that long. But it'll be interesting to see what odds this one goes off at and how it performs off the long layoff like that. So the Vernon Underwood on Thursday at Hollywood Park. And one more race that to me is going to be a little bit interesting. This one's on Wednesday night. Penn National now under a little bit of a cloud after that FBI raid on Friday. But Penn National has a nice stakes-filled card on Wednesday night leading into the Thanksgiving holiday. And the one that's going to be fun to watch, $250,000, the Fabulous Strike handicap for 3-year-olds and up. And it's interesting because Ben's Cat, our old friend, the 7-year-old trained by King Leatherberry, who is very proficient sprinting on the turf, And they had a shot last weekend at Laurel to take a shot on the dirt in a sprint stakes race. They opted out of that because this $250,000 purse at Penn National is much more. And also, Ben's Cat, the last time this horse was seen on the dirt, the Fabulous Strike of last year, which he won. So he's trying to repeat, Ben's Cat moves over to Penn National on Wednesday night, the Fabulous Strike handicap for King Leatherberry. The 7-year-old goes there and should attract some attention and be interesting, and it'll be fun to kind of put our sights on Penn National on Wednesday night, see what Ben's Cat does. All right, before we go to the break, I got a couple of races from the weekend I wanted to take a look at, just because it's a couple of horses that I think will be worth keeping on your radar moving forward. First up, we're going to take a look at an allowance race later in the day on Saturday. And this allowance race was for non-winners of one other than. And notable here, we're going to watch the stretch run, and we're going to see the number 9 Backen win this race. Just wanted to show you this one. And again, keep your eyes on the number 9 Backen going off as the 2-5 favorite. Gets the job done under Javier Castellano for Chad Brown. Notable because Backen, this was only the second career start. This is a 3-year-old that made a late debut, October 13th of this year, over at Belmont, won the maiden special weight off by over 6 lengths, and now follows up with a nice win this past Saturday in a first-level allowance, winning by just over 2 lengths. Again, it is Chad Brown. You have to think this horse probably has a little bit of a future ahead of him out there. So we'll keep our eyes on Backen moving forward. A 3-year-old, again, very lightly raced, only a couple of starts, 2 for 2 so far, so we'll keep our eyes on Backen going forward. And another horse that I think is going to be worth keeping our eyes on. In the New York Stallion Series, there was 4 Stallion Series races at Aqueduct on Saturday. The 5th race was a Stallion Series race for 2-year-old fillies. We're going to watch the stretch run here, and it is going to be the number 6, Miss Narcissist, getting it done. Junior Alvarado on top, Linda Rice trains. Miss Narcissist just going to get it done as the even money favorite, holding off Hey Kiddo. Hey Kiddo at 7-1. Nice battle down to the finish line, but Miss Narcissist will get it done by a head. And Miss Narcissist, career debut up at Saratoga, ran 5th, but then broke the maiden up at Saratoga in the second career start with some education. Followed that up with a win in the Joseph Gimma last time at Belmont Park, and now gets another little stakes victory. Looks like they're going maybe to the Eastview next time, so it looks like potentially staying in with the state breds. But I think this is a horse for Linda Rice, a New York bred, that has the potential to move outside of the New York bred ranks and do decently. So let's keep our eyes on Miss Narcissist. You never know with the 2-year-olds. All of a sudden the class can catch up. But this is a horse so far by Freud. It is a New York bred that in 4 career starts, 3 wins. And I think there's some potential here. Again, we saw some nice New York breds this year that got it done in open company, were either competitive or got some nice wins. And I think Miss Narcissist, when they do decide to step out in open company, could add her name to that list of New York breds that have been very competitive over the past couple of seasons outside of the state bred company. All right, that's going to take us to our first break. Again, a little later on, Don Stevens from Delta Downs will recap the Jackpot Night card on Saturday. Also talk with Joe Clancy, looking at the Colonial Cup card from this past Saturday, which wrapped up the steeplechase season. But right after this, it is Catskill. Steve Turjanian. We're going to take a look at Monticello Raceway. Last week, he hit a couple in 3 shots he took, so we'll see if we can do as well this week. Stay tuned.
I'm Mark Cassano. Join me Saturday mornings at 10 for Down the Stretch. We'll inform, analyze, and welcome in the biggest names in racing. So join me Saturday mornings at 10 for Down the Stretch, right here on the OTB Television Network.
Hey race fans, head down to the all-new Clubhouse Racebook and get in the game. With live horse racing on more than 250 flat-screen TVs, state-of-the-art wagering terminals, fantastic food and drinks, an amazing Vegas-style atmosphere with seating for nearly 900 of your closest friends. Conveniently located at 711 Central Avenue, right off Exit 5 of I-90 in Albany, the Clubhouse Racebook is the better choice.
Wagering at CapitalOTBBet.com is as easy as 1, 2, 3. 1. Capital Bet TV, the fastest and easiest online wagering experience where you can monitor 5 different tracks simultaneously. 2. Capital Bet Express. Its straightforward program layout and interactive handicapping information lets you build your wager quickly and efficiently. And 3. Capital Bet Pro, designed especially for the professional horse player. CapitalOTBBet.com. Log on today.
The Capital OTB Handicapping Challenge Series is back. That's right, the 2013 Capital OTB Handicapping Challenge Series is back, and it's your chance to win thousands in cash and prizes and a seat at the 2014 National Handicapping Championship in Las Vegas. This month, the Capital Cup on December 7th. So sign up today online at CapitalOTB.com or stop in at the Clubhouse Racebook. And don't forget our Showviver Series, Capital OTB's online handicapping contest.
I'm Anthony Mormino. Join me weekdays at 9 for the Handicappers Report. We'll handicap the top tracks across the country and help you prepare for the day in racing. That's the Handicappers Report, weekdays at 9, only on the OTB TV network.
Welcome back to Racing Across America on this Monday morning. As it is Monday, that means Monticello is part of our mix here on Capital OTB TV. And so last week we called in Catskill Steve Turjanian. Do want to remind people, if you go to the Monticello website, you can find Catskill Steve's picks each and every racing day. And last week, he gave out a few of them here on the show. 2 for 3. Nice job, Steve.
Thanks, Sam.
And we're going to take a look at one of those. In fact, we're going to look at last week's 7th race at Monticello. We're going to catch the stretch run. You put on top the number 4, What Rusty. And this one will get the job done as the 2-to-1 second choice. Nice little $6 winner in here. And as I say, you went 2 for 3. And we're hoping for more of the same today.
Uh-huh.
And give us a little idea. Nice. We're looking at the race coming under the wire last week. Nice sunny day. But of course, I'm sure your weather is much the same as we've had here up in the Albany area over the weekend. Very cold. What are you expecting down there?
Yeah, those days I think are behind us now, for a while anyway. Today the temperature up there is going to be about 20, I would say. But the wind chill is going to be in the mid-teens. So it's going to be a little more wintry-like up there today.
And does that factor into your handicapping at all? In other words, does that change the track condition at all in your mind?
Seth, what's good about it is if you look at today's card and you come across horses with tough trips, uncovered trips in the cold weather, it makes for a good play for next week. You can look at the past performances, but the tough trips in the winter especially produce some nice price horses, or they have for me in the past years anyway.
All right, we'll keep that in mind. Let's take a look at some of the action this afternoon. As I said, we'll see if we can keep the roll going after last week. You're going to kick things off right in race number 1 for Monday afternoon, and the first race is a mile pace. Your thoughts there?
Yes, Steph, we're going to try to start the week off with a winner here, and that's going to be number 2, Morgan Sandpiper. The horse last week was stepped up in class off a powerful win and was overmatched last week and had a tough spot. But she did take money. She went up 5-1 from the 7-hole. But the week before, at this level, was a very, very nice middle half brush, quick middle half brush, and she was out a while. She got the lead and she just drew off in 1:59.3, which is kind of quick for these horses here. And her first start at Monticello the week before that, she had another tough uncovered trip, pushed to 29 3/3 quarter and held on for third. She's got the 2-hole today, and Jason Ryan, who's doing very well here, a young upcoming pilot. She looks the best, and she should be able to brush by these.
Yeah, and certainly last time, the 7-hole is no bonus in harness racing. There's no question about that. So moving from the 7 last time into the 2 has to be a positive factor in here. And let me ask you, Steve, in your handicapping, where in the post position order do you start factoring in? Over the years for harness racing, for me, about 6, I start to think about it and really look for a horse that can step it up maybe and overcome that. But certainly when you get out to 7 and 8.
Yeah, it's tough, Seth. You got to have an alert getaway if you have post 7 and 8. Very rare can you come from dead last or next to last. That's more for the mile track. But Monticello, you've got to be near the middle or better, closer to the front to really have a shot. And how good your horse looks from post 7 or 8, unless the horse gets into it involved early, you're going to have a rough time.
Yeah, as I say, over the years, get out to 6, I start, but 7 and 8, you're looking for horses that have done well from those post positions before, and as you say, show a little speed away from the gate. It certainly is a factor. All right, let's look at the third race this afternoon. That is a mile trot. Your thoughts there?
The third race, that's the horse in question here. I like the 6. Gotta love it. And the morning line has it 8-1. And John Flynn does the morning line. He does an excellent job with the morning line. The only thing is with this one, I don't think we're going to get anything close to 8-1. We'll be happy with 2-1. This horse gets a key driver change today to the leading driver at the track, who we talked about last week, Bruce Aldrich Jr. And the horse has taken a substantial drop in class. And if you look at her final times, they're far better than anything in this race. Her form isn't good, but against tougher, that could be excused. And today we'll probably see an all-out effort from post 6 with Bruce.
All right, and we'll hope maybe that sometimes in that what have you done for me lately category, a race like this one threw in last time can help juice up the odds at least a little bit. But as you say, in the class relief, probably float down. But we'll hope they hold as well as they can. All right, and finally, I'm on my tablet here, so I got to kind of shuffle through because we're going to look at we're going to move down the card a little bit here. And let me find it. There we go. Race number 13 this afternoon. And again,
race 12, Seth.
Oh, race 12. Okay.
Yeah.
Race 12. Again, we're at a 1 mile pace. So the 12th race, your thoughts there?
This goes along with what you just said about post 7 and 8. My horse that I like here is Artificial Flowers, number 4. The horse last time out had post 8. And never really got involved, as you could see. He was way back, never really got involved, interested, whatever. The week before, though, was a very interesting race. She went for the lead. She blasted out, took the lead, a 27 4/4. She parked a challenger, put that one away, and then faced another challenge down the backstretch. Put that one away, opened up a 2-length lead at the top of the stretch, and just couldn't hold on from her efforts. What makes it more interesting is on that afternoon, only 3 horses went wire to wire. So it was a rare day that speed wasn't as good as it usually is. And another interesting fact on this one, she's 0 for 9 this year, but if you look at last year, this horse won $64,000 with 9 wins in 7 seconds. Obviously, she's not quite the same as she was last year, but she's better than a 4-claimer, and it's a drop down. Also, it's the non-winners 4-claimer. So I really think today's the day she'll enter Schneid for the year, and probably in wire-to-wire fashion.
All right, Artificial Flowers. And Steve, let me ask you, I'm looking here at the past performances, and from my early days in playing the harness game, the past performances are a little bit different in that you go down the past performance line, and there are harness, essentially speed figures, I guess the equivalent of what we'd have in Buyers in the daily racing forum stuck here in the past performances. Are those something you use in your handicapping?
Not really, Seth. I believe they're TrackMaster speed rating. And I really don't pay attention to that. It's more, it's better focused on a mile track again.
Oh, okay.
I'll look at it a little more on a mile track. Monticello, I've been doing this like 13 or 14 years. I'm, pretty attuned to what's going on up there, or I think I know what's going on. So.
Yeah, I just find it interesting. Like I say, for years and years, there weren't speed figures on the harness game, and now it seems they've added them. So I just find that interesting. And I like the speed figures. on the thoroughbred side of the game, but I'm maybe I'm like you. I've been playing the harness game for so long without them that I hardly ever pay attention.
Right.
I just kind of noticed them there in this Monticello past performances, but I've played so long I don't look at them either. I'm looking at a lot of the same things you're looking at. The trip, was it uncovered? What are the fractions going into that last quarter of a mile? And that's just the way I think we're all creatures of habit, I guess. All right, Steve, we certainly appreciate the visit this Monday morning. Again, we'll see if we can do as well this Monday as you did last Monday. So good luck this afternoon. Oh, and also happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Same to you, Seth, and good luck to all racing fans out there.
Thanks a lot. Catskill Steve Turjanian. Again, if you go to the Monticello Raceway website on any racing day, you can find Steve's selections for the entire card. All right, we are going to take our bottom of the hour break. When we come back, Joe Clancy of ThisIsHorseRacing.com will talk a little bit about the Colonial Cup this past Saturday, which wrapped up the steeplechase season. Stay tuned.
The future of online betting is here, and only at the all-new CapitalOTBBet.com. CapitalOTBBet.com delivers a state-of-the-art wagering experience found nowhere else in horse racing. CapitalOTBBet.com. Log on today.
Fascinated by the world of horse racing? Interested in honing your handicapping skills? Class is in session. Night school, Monday nights. Easy to access online. It's free, interactive, and informative for the casual and serious race fan. Horse Player Now Buzz. Live horses to watch emailed to you daily. Our eyes, your prize. Night school in the buzz. Visit horseplayernow.com for details.
Each morning on the OTB TV network, you get the very best in horse racing programming. Weekdays begin with the Handicappers Report, where professional handicappers share their selections and analysis of the day's racing. Followed by Racing Across America, a daily conversation with racing personalities from around the country. Saturdays include Down the Stretch, where Mark Casano speaks with the biggest names in racing. And Sunday mornings, it's Loose on the Lead, where Steve Bick and I offer news and a unique lineup of weekly guests. All here on the OTB TV network.
Funding your Capital OTB bet account is as easy as 1, 2, 3. 1. Easy Money. Clearly the fastest and easiest method of depositing funds into your account. Make deposits or withdrawals in just minutes. 2. Green Dot Money Pack. Gives you instant access to your funds. Green Dot Money Packs are available at thousands of retailers nationwide. And 3. MasterCard Visa. Simply click on the link from the funding page, enter your account information, and fund your account. CapitalOTBBet.com. Log on today.
This is Steve Beck. Join me Tuesday through Saturday here on OTB TV for At the Races, my Sirius XM daily news magazine of the thoroughbred industry. Handicapping, interviews, analysis, everything you could want. 6 a.m. OTB TV.
Welcome back to Racing Across America. As promised, we are joined now by Joe Clancy of ThisIsHorseRacing.com. Good morning, Joe.
Good morning, Seth. How are you?
Very good. We were happy to be joined by you on Friday to preview the Colonial Cup, and you were on your way down to South Carolina. Just give us an idea. These jump meets, I know, very festive atmospheres. There's a lot of tailgating and whatnot, so just give us a little overview of what the day was like down there at Camden on Saturday.
Yeah, it was a beautiful day. That's the best part. All this cold weather stayed away, at least for Saturday. It was a beautiful fall South Carolina day. They had a good crowd. They added another race due to some strong entries, so the post time was 12:15, which was a little early for the steeplechase folks, but great day of racing. That's probably the best thing. They had races for the maiden hurdle, open timber, the Grade 1 Colonial Cup, a starter allowance, a non-winners of 3. It was just very good racing all across the board and a great way to finish the season.
And I'm going to ask you a question here. I don't think I've ever asked you this before. You mentioned the open timber, and I pulled up the results because essentially this was wrapped up the steeplechase season. And the results have the standings, and then they also have the NSA timber standings. What is the difference, steeplechase and timber?
Yeah, just to keep it more confusing, a timber race is it's sort of a division of steeplechasing. Any race over fences would be considered a steeplechase in America, and a timber race, the jumps are wooden, like the post and rail or board fences that you would see around a paddock at a farm or something like that. So the races are slower, and you have to jump up and over them. We don't see those races at Saratoga or at Belmont because the fences aren't portable. They're on the course sort of permanently, and it's just a little different division. Usually horses start out over hurdles and then they switch to timber. Maybe they want a longer distance, even still longer than 2 miles. They want 3 miles. and they're a little more careful jumpers, or they've learned to jump up and over things. And that's the origins of American steeplechasing. There was a lot of timber racing at the beginning, and then it sort of moved over toward the hurdle and different types of more of a, closer aligned with flat racing.
Okay, all right. Well, let's shift our attention now to the Colonial Cup, and they hadn't put we'll get it on the show later this week, but the Steeplechase Association hadn't put the replay up yesterday when we were compiling our races, so we'll just talk about it today. As I say, I'll pull up the stretch run later in the week, but coming under the wire was Alajmal, I'm assuming is how you pronounce that. Barnstorming second. Italian Wedding second. No, I had it right. Barnstorming second, Italian Wedding third, and Divine Fortune fourth. We talked on Friday that the Grade 1s in the Steeplechase calendar 2013 had already been won by different horses, so we were hoping there was some definition given to the division on Saturday. That turned out not to be the case.
No, we had there's 6 Grade 1 steeplechases in America, and we've had 6 winners. So Alajmal became number 6 with a very good effort. It was a great race, and you could not taking anything away from anybody. It was just very competitive all year, and there was a big field down there, and Alajmal stepped up. He came into it fresh, which I think probably helped him a little bit. Had not run since Saratoga. Janet Elliott kind of went back to the drawing board with the horse, and he got, probably most importantly, he got a great setup. They seemed to be bound and determined not to let Divine Fortune make off with the race like he did at Far Hills. So he was stalked every step of the way and never got a break. And they were just on him every step. And he was really game to finish 4th. And Alajmal stayed away from all that and came from, fairly far off the pace, drafted in behind horses coming in the stretch, and then, really, really kicked in late. And he got looking around. Jackie Chav Ice Peru hit him left-handed once, and the horse kind of lugged out towards the outside fence briefly, come to the last fence, but he straightened up fine and won pretty easily in the end.
And so now, give us your thoughts. We talked a little bit about this. Steve Bick and I were in here yesterday for Loose on the Lead, our Sunday morning show, and we talked a little bit about this. He seemed to think maybe Gustavian on the consistency, but Gustavian up the track on Saturday. I'm not sure his record is substantially better than, say, Italian Wedding. Where do you think Eclipse voters will go?
No, it's very confusing. As an Eclipse voter, I don't even want to think about it until I'm staring at the ballot, I guess. But and fair play to Steve, because he called out Alajmal as a horse with a long shot chance the other day on the radio. So it's not maybe wasn't a surprise to him. And if there was betting, he'd be counting some money right about now. But I don't know. I think Divine Fortune, probably has the inside track toward it. He led the money list. He won more money than anybody in steeplechasing. He seemed to dance every dance as far as Grade 1s go, and he did win another race during the year. It was not a stakes; it was like an allowance type hurdle. But he's got his 2 wins, where Gustavian only has 1 win on the year, and same with Italian Wedding, and same with Demonstrative. So I think he's probably got the inside track. Who. I don't know. I feel like it's the year, it's the year of parity, or the year where there's no standout. So it's going to be a little tricky to try to figure that out. I wish we had a milder division like flat racing did, where there's somebody else that stepped up or dominated another division.
Yeah.
But you're just going to have to pick one. Also, maybe it'd be kind of fun. We can quick throw together another stake somewhere real quick. Maybe go to Gulfstream on opening day, see if we can get them all lined up again, find another winner.
There you go. I like that idea. Put that forth. I'll be behind it. But let me ask you this. You talk about the parity. Now, that's probably one of 2 things. It's either a weak division or a very strong division where nobody, they're so competitive they can't separate themselves. Which direction do you go in?
I don't think they're, I think somewhere down the middle. I think it's a pretty good group. I don't think there's just no real standout, where it seems like we go in waves. We either have it like this, or we have a very, very good horse like Goodnight Shirt, who dominated for 2 or 3 years, and before him, McDynamo dominated for 2 or 3 years. So, they kind of, for whatever reason, they go in waves like that, and this is just sort of a mixed bag of horses. I think they're pretty good on their day, but they don't. They don't always, they take turns having their days, I guess. And the other thing that factors into the steeplechase difference is just the different types of courses we go to. Saratoga and the racetrack courses are very similar, obviously. But then we go to Far Hills, might favor one type of horse, and we go to Camden, which might favor another one. And in the spring, we go to the Iroquois, which is a 3-mile race and a, very different type of course. So, there's horses that excel at different parts, and the ones that are truly great kind of can do it at any of the stops. And that's just rare sometimes.
Yeah, and let's talk about now. The weekend did kind of put a bow on the season, so let's talk about, as I say, I pulled up the year-end standings, and we talked a little bit on Friday. The jockey standings were going to come right down to the wire between Patty Young and Darren Nagel. The trainer standings were a little bit up in the air. We thought with the entries, Jonathan Shepard may have had a little edge, but it turns out it didn't work out that way. Jack Fisher, with the day on Saturday, winds up tying Jonathan Shepard. Meanwhile, on the jockey side, Patty Young with a win just edges Darren Nagel. But talk a little bit about Patty Young, Darren Nagel, Jack Fisher, Jonathan Shepard, and was there a little bit of buzz on the course on Saturday as these races played out?
Yeah, there was a lot of buzz, actually. It was kind of fun. They all came down there with the jockeys all had rides in every race, and the trainers all had horses in seemed like every race. And I'm with you. I kind of saw Jonathan Shepard with the number of horses he had. He had a 2-win lead going into the day, and I thought he would win at least one, which would mean Jack's got to win 3 to tie. But Jonathan was blanked, and Jack won 2. And for a minute there, we thought he had won 2 and was coming into or if they were betting, he would have had it all together, would have been a heavy favorite in this sort of starter allowance race. And he got beat, but he was turned for home and was right there, and he ended up finishing second. So Jack nearly pulled off the real comeback and took the whole thing. But again, pretty parity at the top, or some sharing some of these wins is good. I mean, the depth of competition is good for the game, and you see. To see the horses wins coming from different stables, or spreading the wins around is good for the game.
And of course, on Saturday, Janet Elliott wins the Grade 1 too, so she adds her name to the mix of interesting stories on the steeplechase side. Janet Elliott, of course, a Hall of Famer herself.
Yeah, definitely. No, it was kind of fun to see. I mean, her stable is nowhere near the size it used to be, but to see her do that, and that was kind of what made you think. Hindsight's always 20/20, but made you think that if she shows up with Elajmel in a Grade 1, he hadn't run over jumps since August. She gave him a training flat sort of tune-up that he had won at Aiken a couple of weeks before the Colonial Cup. And, in hindsight, you're like, well, Janet must have known she had him right or had him in good form. And she kind of said afterwards she was very happy to be proven right, that she always thought he was a good horse, that it just needed to get things together or get his game face on and get him to a race in good shape and in good form.
Yeah, very good. All right, let's talk a little bit now about the what were maybe some highlights of the year for you. And let's go back. I got a couple of races to watch from Saratoga because, of course, our viewers are very familiar with the steeplechase jumping up at Saratoga during the summer. First up, we are going to take a look at the Smithwick on August 1st. That was one of the aforementioned Grade 1s, which again had 6 separate winners on the steeplechase season with 6 Grade 1s. We're going to watch the stretch run here of the Smithwick. Going to be number 6, Mr. Hot Stuff, getting it done. Wanted to show this because, again, the season ends up tied with the trainers on the top, Jack Fisher and Jonathan Shepard. Mr. Hot Stuff, trained by Jack Fisher, and also has a little tie-in to your brother Sean.
Yeah, definitely. He's a fun horse. I mean, he was kind of obviously the horse ran the Kentucky Derby, ran into Belmont. He was not going to cut it as a flat horse. He's a full brother to Colonel John, but he's also a gelding, so there was no dying career in the offing. And Sean sort of, on a long shot, he deals in some horses, buys and sells horses toward, or gets horses bought towards steeplechasing from the flat game. And on a long shot, he called Bill Kasner at Windstar Farm and asked him if Mr. Hot Stuff might be available, and he was. And he's the perfect kind of fit for a steeplechaser. He's a big, long-striding horse, wants all the distance, all the ground he can get. He was very impressed with Saratoga that day in the Smithwick.
Yeah, and it was funny as we were watching, I'd forgotten it was raining that day, and it seemed like it was raining pretty good, though, as you looked at the video. Let's shift out now towards the end of the meet. August 22nd, we're going to look at the New York Turf Riders. Again, another one of those Grade 1s on the steeplechase calendar. It is Italian Wedding, and as we saw, Mr. Hot Stuff, trained by Jack Fisher, appropriately enough, the other Grade 1 at Saratoga, won by Jonathan Shepard. The 2 trainers that tied on the top of the steeplechase standings. It is Italian Wedding coming under the wire. Mr. Hot Stuff winds up running 4th in this race. But also notable to me, on board Italian Wedding this day, Bernard Dalton. He's no Gary Stevens, but still 45 years old. Bernard Dalton gets it done on Italian Wedding in the New York Turf Riders.
Yeah, Bernie, that was a highlight of the year for sure. Bernie's very well known around Saratoga and in the flat game. Used to ride out for Kieran McLaughlin and rode some of the tough guys in their barn, and to have him win a Grade 1 there at Saratoga was pretty popular, no matter how old he is.
You got any other highlights you want to hit on before for the steeplechase season?
Yeah, and we glossed over it there briefly, but the jockey championship race there at Camden, and again, Patty Young rides Mr. Hot Stuff, so there's maybe his one win too if you're going back. But it came down literally to the final race of the day. Neither one had won up until that. They went through 5 races, and neither guy had won. Patty had a fall. Darren got close on a couple, and they came into the last race of the day, which Patty won. 2 races earlier, he had a fall. He thought for a minute he had broken his jaw, but he didn't. And he gets on Kingdom for Tom Voss, and it was Kingdom's 10th start of the year. And Patty's Patty's 95th ride of the year, and he gets him home first to win the championship, which he was very emotional and everything afterwards, and so was Darren. You kind of felt for Darren that, man, you got that close, kid, and he was gracious in defeat, and Patty was gracious as a champion, and that was really fun. That was a neat way to do it, and you can't plan that, but to have it come down to that was pretty thrilling, and that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. A great way to cap off the racing season, other than the fact that, again, the Eclipse voters are really facing a challenge. So I do not envy you filling out that ballot, but it is certainly, as I say, a nice end to the season down there in South Carolina. I'm with you, though. I'm gonna forward that idea if you don't. Let's have one more race before the end of the season and see if we can settle things there. But, Joe, we certainly appreciate the visit this morning. And, again, all the visits you made talking steeplechase. We'll catch up with you down the road just in general because, of course, this is horseracing.com, a great site that folks can go to follow horse racing all around the country. Steeplechase is included there, but the whole racing game as well. And it's a great site. If you haven't visited, go to thisisHorseRacing.com. Joe, again, thanks for the visit.
Great, thank you. Talk to you soon.
All right, Joe Clancy. Again, this is horseracing.com. We'll go to our last break of the hour. When we come back, it will be Don Stevens from Delta Downs talking Delta Downs Jackpot, Delta Downs Princess, and the Delta Mile right after this.
I'm Jeff Carl. Join me Saturdays and Sundays at 9 for the Handicappers Report. We'll handicap the top tracks across the country and help you prepare for the weekend in racing. That's the Handicappers Report, weekends at 9, only here on the OTB TV network.
The future of online betting is here, and only at the all-new CapitalOTBBet.com. With a newly designed and engineered internet wagering platform, enhanced video streaming, additional funding options, and 3 new individual wagering opportunities, CapitalOTBBet.com delivers a state-of-the-art wagering experience found nowhere else in horse racing. Combine that with our all-new mobile website. You have 2 of the most powerful, innovative, and advanced wagering platforms available today. CapitalOTBBet.com. Log on today.
Hey, race fans, head down to the all-new Clubhouse Racebook and get in the game. With live horse racing on more than 250 flat-screen TVs, state-of-the-art wagering terminals, fantastic food and drinks, an amazing Vegas-style atmosphere with seating for nearly 900 of your closest friends. Conveniently located at 711 Central Avenue, right off Exit 5 of I-90 in Albany, the Clubhouse Racebook is the better choice.
Using CapitalOTBBet.com is as easy as 1, 2, 3. 1. Simply log on with your username and password from the homepage. 2. Fund your Capital OTB account through our Easy Money, Green Dot, or Visa MasterCard options. And 3. Place your bet on one of our 3 easy-to-navigate wagering platforms, Capital Bet TV, Capital Bet Express, or Capital Bet Pro. CapitalOTBBet.com. Log on today.
I'm Steve Beck.
And I'm Seth Merrill.
Together, we're loose on the lead on Capital OTB, Sundays at 10 a.m. Why should they watch, Seth?
Sit down on Sunday, have a bagel, get some great racing conversation.
Cream cheese only, no jelly. Sundays, 10 a.m., loose on the lead, Capital OTB.
Welcome back to Racing Across America. Happy to be joined now by Don Stevens of Delta Downs. Good morning, Don.
Good morning. How are you today?
Very good, and I'm sure you're doing very well after what I think was a very successful Saturday night. We had you on Friday previewing the Delta Jackpot card. Subsequently, the races were run. We're going to take a little look back at 3 of the races specifically, but before we go to specific races, just give us an overview of what the night was like down there at Delta.
Well, it was really an afternoon card. I know you guys are on the East Coast, so it's a little bit later, but we started at 1:15 our time. We had 11 races, 8 stakes, 2 of them graded stakes, the Princess and the Jackpot. The day turned out wonderful. All week we were expecting rain Friday, and then into Saturday the rain never came. It's starting to rain today on Monday, but that's fine because we're not racing today. But the rain held off. We had a fast track. There was overcast skies. It was a little cool, but we would take that as long as we had the fast track. Everybody had a great day. We had some track records. We had stakes record in the Jackpot. We set an all-time record handle for Delta Downs. Over $5 million was just tremendous for us. Overall, it was just a success beyond our wildest dreams.
Nice, very good. And let's take a look at some of these races in particular. We'll look first at the highlight of the evening, the Delta Downs Jackpot, $1 million purse, 2-year-olds, a mile and a 16th, and we're going to watch them come down the stretch. It will be the number 10 Rise Up, and Don, you and I talked on Friday about the unique sandy surface at Delta Downs, and maybe a prep race over the track would be beneficial. Rise Up comes out of a win in the Jean Lafitte over the Delta Downs surface and winds up winning nicely here as the 2-1 second choice. Coastline, the 8-5 favorite, got off to a bad start and never really got in the mix. And Casa Guapo, I'll just bring that one up because my partner on the show yesterday, Steve Bick, made the great point, tying in that sandy surface at Delta, very similar to Calder, and Casa Guapo came up from working out over that Calder surface, so may have benefited from that. But your thoughts on the Delta Jackpot?
Well, it was just a tremendous performance by Rise Up. It was a great ride by Gerard Melanson, who's won 3 riding titles here, owns the record for most wins in a season, most earnings in a season, and it showed. I mean, he had this horse in the Jean Lafitte, as you mentioned. He won that one easily, a great performance, a good start over the track to get him ready for what he was to expect on Saturday. The complexion of the race completely changed at the start. As you mentioned, Coastline stumbles, goes to his knees, was taken clear to the back. Rise Up and Gerard Melanson, then, they kind of, Gerard said he looked around and he expected speed from the inside from the 2-horse, and of course he had the trouble, so now he was up there trying to decide what to do, and he said, well, if we're going to win this, they're going to have to come get us. So he got the horse over to the rail, went quick early, but settled him down up the backstretch. Once he got that breather going into the far turn, it was really over. Coastline moved with rank has privileges up the backstretch. After that bad start, Coastline's never been in that position before, and he rushed. He was wide around the turn. It was his only hope because he was behind a wall of horses, and then he just faded to 8th in the stretch. Casa Guapo put in a good effort. He was best of the rest, but Rise Up's win was a record, 6 lengths. It was the widest margin, and it was a stakes record time, not a track record, but a stakes record time, eclipsing that of Big Drama back in 2008. We all know what he went on to do.
Yeah, and this guy may have been floating a little bit under the radar for folks, but I think their eyes will widen now as they put together the 2-year-old lists for the end of the year and then going into the 3-year-old season, because this is a horse now, 6 career starts, 4 wins and a second-place finish. The only thing, though, is the one blemish on the record, it was over the Churchill Downs Strip. And certainly they got to be thinking Kentucky Derby, but they also got to be a little bit leery about the fact that this horse, the dud of the career, was the Iroquois.
Yeah, I realized that. I did talk to Tom Amos after the race, though couldn't wipe the smile off his face. I didn't realize this was his first $1 million race to win. I did not know that until the other day. But anyway, he said when they were at Churchill, they found him to be a little headstrong. He wanted to go, and they were trying to hold him back and get him to rate, and he just didn't perform that day. Since then, he did rate in the Jean Lafitte. He was behind a very fast-paced runaway early leader who kind of caved into the far turn, and he took over the lead. But he's much more confident now. If you read his quotes after that Iroquois, they went to work trying to get him to settle down, and he relaxed very nicely, albeit on the lead the other day. He did relax in the middle part of the race and finish up strong.
Yeah, as I say, I think he's one that is now going to be on the radar of folks as the 2-year-old season starts to wrap up and they put together those lists. Speaking of 2-year-olds, let's look at the girls' side. The 2-year-old fillies and the Delta Downs Princess, Grade 3 event, $500,000 purse. They went a mile. The favorite at 5-2 was Bana, and Bana went out for Brett Calhoun and came off a prep win in the My Trusty Cat right at Delta Downs. Bana was out there and had the lead late, but will get passed by Tepin. Tepin for Mark Casse. Mark Casse, of course, was disappointed with Coastline in the Delta Jackpot, but a nice win earlier on the card for Mark Casse with Tepin. Probably a 2-year-old filly to keep our eyes on.
Absolutely. Bana and Tepin had a stretch duel there, as you saw, and Tepin just wore her down. Bana won the prep easily, but was disqualified and placed 5th, so she had that angle of a race over the track, but Tepin was just too good, and I was really impressed with her gameness in the lane to get by Bana and Miguel Mena with a great ride there as well, and then nice effort also by Misbehavior, but she was no threat to win.
Yeah, Misbehavior, I'm wondering if distance, there might be some limitations there. I think on a cutback, she'll rebound okay. And Concave coming out of, I liked her in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile filly, had all kinds of trouble there with the spill. I thought that was a decent effort in the 3rd place finish. And again, being a surface that maybe is a little bit different for maybe the first time over the surface, the 3rd place finish for her wasn't that bad. So I'll keep my eyes on her as well.
Yes.
All right, let's shift out now to the Delta Downs Mile, the $150,000 purse, 3-year-olds and up. I told you on Friday, my old buddy Uncaptured was going to be one I kept my eyes on, and I was kind of surprised. Uncaptured went off as the 2-to-1 favorite. As we watch the stretch run, Uncaptured will finish 3rd. So again, has not lived up to what I was hoping would be the early promise, but Grand Contender, the number 4 horse, under the aforementioned Gerard Melanson, gets it done pretty convincingly at 10-to-1, and another piece of a very nice night for Tommy Amos.
Oh, absolutely. Amos and Melanson win a ton of races here at Delta Downs, and they were good as gold on Saturday. And Grand Contender, owned by Maggie Moss, she has so many winners across the country. But Grand Contender sets a track record, not just a stakes record, but a track record in the Delta Mile. This race has been very productive. Last year, Prospective won this race. We're just waiting for this race to get graded because pretty soon we're going to have an all-graded stakes pick 4 in the middle of the jackpot program, we're hoping, and that race could go a long way to doing it. But what an effort by Grand Contender. If you notice the 4th race, the Samstown, as well as the Delta Mile, which went as the 5th before the Princess and the Jackpot, those 2 races had similar pace scenarios. Very fast early fractions. I think you and I talked about it the other day. Red Hot Russian here went out as expected. They went very, very quick, and Grand Contender was the first one to get the jump, and he had the best closing kick down the lane.
Yeah, and as you say, this is a race that probably has a grading in the future. A horse like Uncaptured, who again hasn't lived up to the thoughts I have, but certainly is a graded stakes performer, and Do No Harm, who ran so well in graded company down in Oaklawn earlier this year, certainly will give a push for that. Don, again, it was a very nice, I keep saying night because I think you guys as nighttime
we're so
racing.
used to running night
but
here,
but it was a very good afternoon down there Saturday at Delta Downs. And as I say, I think it's going to give a lot of people some fodder to think about as we put together those 2-year-old lists at the end of the year with Rise Up running very well in the Delta Downs jackpot. Congratulations to everybody down there for putting on a great card.
Well, thank you so much. We enjoyed it. We're still on a high after all of it. We still got racing here at Delta Downs through middle of March, so people can check us out Wednesdays through Saturday nights at 6:45 Eastern if they're up your way.
Yeah, we'll try to actually check in with you every once in a while and maybe get some thoughts on some of the cards as we move forward.
Yeah, we do have a lot of horses that come over from fairgrounds during the season. Tom Amos brings a lot over here, speaking of him. So, check in anytime you see something. We'd love to talk to you.
All right. Don, thanks again for the visit.
Have a great day.
Bye. Don Stevens from Delta Downs. A little earlier, we talked to Joe Clancy from ThisIsHorseRacing.com. We kick things off with Catskill, Steve Turjanian from Monticello Raceway. That'll wrap up a Monday edition of Racing Across America. We're here every Monday through Friday from 10 to 11 a.m. Of course, this week with Thanksgiving, we'll be off on Thanksgiving Day, but here the entire rest of the week at 9 a.m. every day is the Handicappers Report. We hope to give you some good thoughts on racing for the afternoon on that program. So hopefully you cash some tickets this afternoon. We'll see you tomorrow morning.
You're watching OTB TV, a service of Capital Off Track Betting.